A fleet of sleek, dark spaceships hovered silently just outside the atmosphere of Earth. These ships were the pinnacle of technology, equipped with advanced cloaking devices, artificial intelligence, and powerful weaponry. The alien invaders inside these ships, part of the mighty Galactic Union, had never encountered a world that could stand up to them. And now, they were on their way to Earth. The lead alien commander, Xarthul, stood at the front of his flagship, his eyes scanning the blue and green planet below. His long fingers tapped rhythmically on the console, clearly unimpressed by the sight before him. He was the supreme leader of his people, feared throughout the galaxy for his strategic mind and ruthless conquests. He had faced countless alien civilizations and crushed them without hesitation. Yet, Earth was different. Such a primitive, insignificant place, Xarthul muttered under his breath, his voice dripping with disdain. A death world, as the others call it. No match for us. His officers, gathered around him, nodded in agreement. They had heard the rumors, the warnings from various corners of the galaxy. They had heard that Earth was a place where even the most skilled warriors feared to tread. But Xarthul was not a commander who feared anything. He had conquered worlds far more dangerous than this, and he had come to Earth to claim it for his empire. As the fleet prepared for descent, Xarthul's second-in-command, a sharp-eyed alien named Vorn, approached him with a look of concern. "Commander, we have received a message from an ancient race," Vorn said, his voice filled with uncertainty. "They claim Earth is far more dangerous than we could ever imagine. They warn us to turn back before it's too late." Xarthul glanced at Vorn, clearly unimpressed. "More superstition, I presume. I've heard the same warnings before. Earth is a wasteland, full of primitive creatures. There's no challenge here." Vorn hesitated, clearly torn between loyalty to his commander and the haunting warning he had just received. The message came from an ancient alien race commander. They claim that no one who has ever tried to invade Earth has survived. They say the planet itself fights back. Xarthul chuckled, a cold, dark laugh that echoed through the ship. If they are so wise, then why have they not conquered Earth themselves? This is nothing but a collection of overblown myths. The Galactic Union's forces are more than enough to handle this so-called death world. But as he spoke, a deep, guttural voice echoed in his mind, almost as if it were trying to warn him. Xarthul ignored it, brushing aside the feeling of unease that crept up his spine. His mind was set. Earth would fall to the Galactic Union, just like the countless other worlds he had conquered. "Prepare for landing," Xarthul ordered, his voice cold and commanding. As the ships descended through the atmosphere around Earth seemed to crackle with an unseen energy. Xarthul's ship and the others in the fleet cloaked themselves, rendering them invisible to the planet's surface. They glided down silently, as if they were ghosts, undetected by Earth's primitive radar systems. The planet had no way of knowing that it was about to be invaded by forces far beyond its understanding. However, just as Xarthul was about to give the order to begin the invasion, a sudden, unexpected message blared through the ship's communication systems, shaking him from his focus. A warning flashed on the screen, one that had been encrypted and sent through a secured channel from an unknown source. The message was brief, but the words were chilling. "If you value your life, stay away from Earth. It is the deadliest planet in the galaxy." Xarthul's eyes narrowed as he read the message. He felt a fleeting moment of doubt creep into his mind, but he quickly dismissed it. A threat? Or simply another attempt to frighten us? He thought. He looked to his officers, who were equally unmoved. "It seems the galaxy's superstitions continue," Xarthul said with a sneer. "They've all heard the stories, but none have dared to face the truth. Earth is weak, and its inhabitants are nothing more than primitive creatures. We shall show them their place." He turned to Vorn. "Send a reply. Tell them that we do not fear such threats. We have come to conquer, not to cower." Despite his outward confidence, there was something unsettling in the pit of Axarthel's stomach. He had never encountered a world like Earth before, and there was something in the air, the faintest, almost imperceptible feeling, that made him hesitate for just a moment. But he quickly shook off the feeling, determined to prove his strength. Initiate the landing sequence. It's time to take Earth. As the ships continued their descent toward Earth's surface, the camera zoomed in on the planet below. For a brief moment, the audience glimpses the deadly landscape. Vast deserts, violent storms, and dense jungles filled with untamed beasts. But there was something more. The deadly beauty of Earth's surface seemed to hold a secret, one that had been hidden from the rest of the galaxy for centuries. And then, the aliens touched down. The ground shook as the massive alien ships made contact with Earth's surface. The moment their feet hit the ground, they were met with an eerie silence. The air was thick with tension as Axarthel and his crew stepped out of their ships, fully prepared to subdue any opposition. But they weren't prepared for what awaited them. Earth wasn't like the other planets they had conquered. Its natural defenses, wildlife, weather, and the very environment itself were unlike anything they had ever faced. As Axarthel's soldiers cautiously advanced, they were met with strange sounds, a low growl that seemed to reverberate through the Earth itself. The ground shifted beneath their feet, as if it was alive. Something was watching them. And then, in an instant, the chaos began. A massive creature, an enormous, multi-legged predator, burst out of the jungle. Its eyes glowed with a predatory gleam as it charged toward the aliens, who quickly attempted to fire their weapons. But nothing could prepare them for the ferocity of Earth's creatures. One by one, Axarthel's soldiers were taken down. The advanced alien weaponry that had decimated countless civilizations seemed useless against the raw power of Earth's wildlife. It was a brutal awakening for the invaders. They had underestimated the planet's ability to fight back, and now they were paying the price. Axarthel watched in disbelief as his troops were overwhelmed by the creatures of Earth, his confidence shattered. "What is this madness?" he hissed, his voice filled with both anger and fear. The camera cuts to a wide shot of the battlefield, where the aliens are struggling to maintain control. Their once pristine ships are now under attack from the very environment they had sought to conquer. The audience can't help but wonder, what makes Earth so dangerous? What is it about this seemingly primitive world that has the galaxy so terrified? As the scene fades, the audience is left on the edge of their seats, eager to find out what will happen next. What is waiting for the alien invaders on Earth? And more importantly, can they survive the deadly forces of the planet they have so boldly chosen to invade? The suspense is palpable, and the story has just begun. The first wave of alien soldiers touched down on Earth, their sleek spacecraft blending into the dense foliage of the jungle as their cloaking devices activated. From the moment they stepped out, their AI scouts scanned the environment, analyzing every inch of the landscape. Axarthel and his officers had expected a simple mission, an easy conquest. Earth, after all, had been labeled a dead world by many other alien races. It was supposed to be a place of little to no value, a primitive planet not worth anyone's attention. But as they set foot on the ground, the first signs of trouble started to surface. The AI scouts, initially designed to map out enemy movements, were glitching. Their sensors couldn't make sense of the strange life forms that surrounded them. At first, it was just a few odd readings, then strange, erratic movements within the dense trees and underbrush. The planet seemed alive, and not in a way the aliens had anticipated. The atmosphere itself was thick, almost like Earth was breathing with them. There was a primal energy that hung in the air. The alien soldiers, still confident in their technological superiority, fanned out in search of human targets. They had expected Earth's wildlife to be a nuisance, at best, but nothing more than a minor inconvenience. After all, how could creatures that were bound to the constraints of biology stand up against beings equipped with advanced weaponry, cloaking technology, and artificial intelligence? The aliens began moving deeper into the jungle, their heavy boots making a distinct noise against the cracked earth. Suddenly, without warning, the ground beneath them rumbled. At first, the aliens thought it was just another oddity of Earth's unpredictable environment. But then came the roar, a deep guttural sound that vibrated through the ground, sending a chill through the alien ranks. Before they could react, a massive creature burst from the underbrush. It was unlike anything they had ever seen. Its body was a horrifying mix of organic muscle and sharp, jagged features. This wasn't a simple beast. It was a genetically enhanced predator, its claws sharper than any blade and its teeth capable of rending steel. The alien soldiers were caught completely off guard. Their energy weapons fired in rapid bursts, but the creature was too fast. With terrifying speed, it closed the distance between itself and the soldiers, ripping into them with a ferocity that no amount of technology could combat. The AI-assisted warriors, typically so precise and ruthless in battle, were thrown into disarray. They tried to fall back, but the jungle seemed to come alive in response, with more predators emerging from the trees. Earth's wildlife was not simply fierce, it was relentless. As the aliens fought back in desperation, more creatures appeared from the jungle, surrounding them. The once perfectly coordinated alien forces were now scattered, disoriented, and terrified. For the first time in their invasion, the alien soldiers found themselves on the defensive, unable to hold their ground against the sheer brutality of Earth's ecosystem. In the chaos, Bonner, a young and inexperienced alien soldier, found himself separated from his team. His AI unit was malfunctioning, and his weapon had been damaged during the initial attack. He stumbled through the jungle, his heart racing in panic. He could hear the sounds of the battle, his comrades fighting for their lives, but he couldn't see them. He had been left behind. Bonner had never expected to be in this position. He had been trained for years to be a part of an unstoppable force. But this planet, this so-called dead world, had thrown him into the heart of a nightmare. His thoughts raced as he tried to find a way back to his team, but every step seemed to lead him deeper into danger. The jungle closed in around him, and he could hear the distant growls of the creatures that hunted the invaders. In the shadows of the jungle, a group of humans had been watching the whole time. Commander Jonas, the leader of a small, ragtag human resistance group, had been keeping an eye on the alien forces from a hidden position. They had been tracking the invaders ever since their ships had appeared in the sky. Jonas knew that Earth was about to experience its greatest test, but he also knew that Earth wasn't just a planet. It was a death world, and he had seen what it could do. Jonas had seen Bonner stumble through the jungle. The alien soldier, terrified and alone, was an easy target for the deadly wildlife that roamed the planet. But Jonas also saw an opportunity. In a world where survival was everything, there was something to be learned from the alien invaders' plight. If the humans were going to survive this invasion, they needed to show that they were not the weak prey the aliens thought they were. It was time for them to take action. "Move out," Jonas commanded, his voice steady despite the urgency of the situation. "We're going after him." His team, a handful of experienced fighters, swiftly followed his orders. They knew the dangers of the jungle all too well. Every step could bring them face to face with a creature or a trap. But this wasn't just about fighting for survival anymore. It was about proving that Earth's inhabitants had something the aliens couldn't anticipate: resourcefulness, determination, and an unbreakable will to fight for their home. As they tracked Bonner through the dense jungle, Jonas and his team worked in perfect sync. They moved swiftly and quietly, using the terrain to their advantage. The jungle, which had been a place of death for the aliens, was now their greatest ally. The humans knew how to navigate its dangers, and they used that knowledge to stay hidden from both the predators and the aliens. They found Bonner just as he stumbled upon a dense thicket. The young alien was on the verge of collapse, his fear written all over his face. His clothes were torn, and his weapon was useless. He had no hope of surviving alone in this jungle, especially not with the deadly creatures closing in. Jonas watched Bonner for a moment before making a decision. This wasn't about mercy or sympathy. It was about survival. If they didn't help this alien, he would be dead within minutes, and the aliens would have no reason to fear them. But if they saved him, it could send a message. The humans were resourceful, and they were willing to do whatever it took to protect their home. With a swift motion, Jonas signaled his squad to move in. They surrounded Bonner, using their own cloaking devices to remain unseen. Bonner's eyes widened in fear when he saw the humans, but Jonas spoke in a calm, authoritative voice, the kind that could cut through the chaos of battle. "You're not alone," Jonas said. "We're not here to kill you. We're here to help." Bonner stared at him, confusion and fear still clouding his mind. But as the humans carefully approached, he saw something in their eyes, a determination he hadn't seen in his fellow soldiers. The aliens had underestimated Earth, but the humans knew how to survive. And now, they were showing Bonner that survival was about more than technology or weapons. Bonner hesitated for a moment, his instincts telling him to run, to fight. But then he realized something. He had no other choice. The predators would tear him apart if he stayed in the jungle, and his own people were too far away to help him. He nodded slowly, his fear slowly turning into something else: curiosity. These humans were different, and for the first time since landing on Earth, Bonner realized that he had no idea what would happen next. This world, this so-called dead world, was far more complex and dangerous than he could have ever imagined. As Jonas' team moved swiftly to guide Bonner to safety, the audience was left with a burning question. Was this a sign of humanity's resilience, or was it just the beginning of something much more dangerous? The human resistance had been quietly fighting for their lives since the first signs of alien invasion. The aliens, with their superior technology and seemingly unstoppable forces, had expected Earth to be an easy target. They underestimated the one thing that made Earth so dangerous: the indomitable will of its people. While humans may have been technologically outmatched, their true strength lay in their ability to survive, adapt, and fight back, using whatever resources they could scavenge. The aliens never counted on Earth's fiercest defense: the humans themselves. Jonas and his team had successfully saved Bonner, the young alien soldier, from the deadly wildlife that had been attacking him. Bonner, still disoriented and shaken from his near-death experience, was slowly beginning to realize that Earth wasn't the dead world the aliens had been told about. The planet's true danger wasn't just its fierce animals, its massive predators, or its harsh environment. No, the real danger lay in the humans themselves. As Bonner was led deeper into the jungle by Jonas and his team, he couldn't help but notice how well the humans navigated the terrain. They weren't using any advanced cloaking devices or energy shields, but they moved swiftly and efficiently through the jungle, making no sound and leaving no trace. Their eyes were sharp, scanning for any threats that could appear at any moment, and their movements were calculated. Everything they did was with purpose. It was clear now that the humans had learned to survive in this brutal world in ways that the aliens had never imagined. But survival was just the beginning. The humans weren't just living. They were fighting back, using whatever they could find. As they walked through the dense underbrush, Jonas led Bonner to a hidden outpost where the human resistance had been gathering for months. The base was made up of scavenged equipment from fallen alien ships, improvised weapons, and a small but skilled team of survivors. They had no advanced technology to speak of, no starships, no AI-driven combat units, but what they had was ingenuity, and that was enough to turn the tide of battle. Bonner was taken aback by what he saw. The humans were so much more than what the alien commanders had believed. They were resourceful, relentless, and willing to do whatever it took to protect their world. It wasn't just about technology. It was about something deeper, something that the aliens couldn't understand. Just as Bonner began to absorb the new reality of Earth's defense, the sound of distant engines reached their ears. A low hum, the unmistakable noise of an approaching alien war machine. The resistance had been tracking the movement of the enemy for days, and they knew this machine was coming to hunt them down. It wasn't just any war machine. It was an eye-controlled, heavily armored unit that had been sent to eliminate anyone who posed a threat to the alien invasion. Jonas turned to his team, his face grim but determined. "We need to get to the wreckage site before it does," he said, his voice steady. "Move out now." The humans quickly mobilized, preparing their weapons and gathering their gear. Bonner, still shaken by the events of the past few hours, was handed a basic rifle. It wasn't much compared to the advanced weapons the aliens had, but it was all they had. Bonner hesitated for a moment before taking it, unsure of how to use it. But the look in Jonas' eyes told him everything he needed to know. This was his chance to prove himself, to show the humans that he could fight for their survival too. The team moved swiftly through the jungle, using the cover of trees and thick foliage to avoid detection. The war machine was closing in fast, and they couldn't afford to make a mistake. The jungle, which had once been their ally, now felt like a trap, a place where danger lurked at every turn. But Jonas and his team knew the land better than any alien machine ever could. They set up an ambush near the wreckage site, carefully positioning themselves in the shadows, waiting for the war machine to come into range. The machine appeared on the horizon, its massive silhouette cutting through the trees. It was a terrifying sight, sleek and metallic, with a red, glowing eye that scanned the area, searching for any signs of life. It had been designed to track and eliminate threats with pinpoint precision, and it was programmed to show no mercy. As the machine neared the ambush site, Jonas gave the signal. The humans sprang into action, launching a series of surprise attacks. They used their knowledge of the terrain to their advantage, firing from hidden positions and using makeshift explosives to confuse and disorient the war machine. It wasn't an easy fight. The machine retaliated with deadly precision, firing powerful blasts of energy that ripped through the jungle. The humans scrambled to dodge the blasts, using the trees and rocks for cover. Bonner, who had never been in a battle like this, was overwhelmed. He had been trained for combat, but nothing had prepared him for the chaos of guerrilla warfare. The humans, however, were calm and focused. They moved like a well-oiled machine, coordinating their attacks and using every piece of equipment they had at their disposal. The fight raged on for what felt like hours, but the humans weren't backing down. They had something the war machine didn't: ingenuity and the will to survive. They set traps, used fire to confuse the machine's sensors, and launched coordinated assaults from different angles. Bonner, although still a novice, found himself following Jonas' orders, shooting when told to shoot, moving when told to move. For the first time since landing on Earth, he felt like he was part of something greater than himself. Finally, after a tense and brutal struggle, the war machine was brought down. It was a moment of triumph for the human resistance, but it came at a cost. One of Jonas' squad members, a soldier named Kira, was injured during the final assault. She had been too close to the explosion, and now she was unconscious, bleeding heavily from a wound in her side. Jonas rushed to her side, his face a mixture of relief and worry. "We'll get you back to base," he said, trying to comfort her. "You're going to be okay." The battle was over, but the war was far from won. The humans had made their stand, but they knew that the real fight was just beginning. The aliens would send more war machines, more soldiers. But the humans had proven something today. They had proven that they could fight back, that they weren't the helpless victims the aliens thought they were. As they retreated to their base, Bonner found himself reflecting on what he had just witnessed. The humans weren't just survivors. They were warriors. They fought with everything they had, not because they were stronger or more advanced, but because they had something the aliens couldn't understand: the will to protect their world, no matter the cost. For the first time, Bonner felt a shift in his perspective. He wasn't sure if he could ever truly stand with the aliens again. The humans had shown him what true strength looked like, and it was something the invaders could never conquer. The battle may have been won, But the war was far from over. And now, with an unlikely ally in their midst, the humans were ready to fight for their home. And they would do it with everything they had. The jungle was dense, its towering trees casting long shadows over the land. Bonner, once a proud soldier of the Galactic Union, found himself walking in the midst of these humans, people who had never stood a chance against the might of the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. Yet here they were, not only surviving but thriving. It was a sight that filled Bonner with confusion and awe. Earth, a planet thought to be weak, was showing him something he could never have anticipated: an unyielding will to survive. The young alien soldier had been through many battles, but none of them had prepared him for the emotional roller coaster he was experiencing on Earth. His first few days with the humans had been filled with fear and distrust. After all, they had been his enemies, the ones he had been trained to conquer and subjugate. But after the rescue, something had shifted within him. As he spent more time with Commander Jonas and his team, he began to see that Earth wasn't just a planet full of savage beasts and untamable wildlands. It was a place where survival was a way of life, where every challenge was met with ingenuity, grit, and determination. Bonner watched as the humans crafted traps and devices from the wreckage of alien ships. These weren't the soldiers he had once expected them to be, armed only with primitive weapons and weak defenses. The humans, through sheer resourcefulness, had learned to turn the tide of battle in their favor. They had scavenged alien technology, reverse engineering it to create weapons and tools that could match the might of the Galactic Union's finest. These humans had learned to fight with their wits as much as with their weapons, and that was something Bonner had never understood before. During their travels, Bonner learned more about the humans' plight. They weren't simply fighting to survive. They had been fighting for generations, oppressed by alien forces, pushed to the brink of extinction, and yet they had never given up. The stories Jonas shared with him were filled with hardship and loss, but also resilience. Earth had been invaded many times before, each time by different alien factions seeking to exploit its resources or enslave its people. But despite everything, the humans had fought back, each time growing stronger, more cunning, more resourceful. As Bonner spent more time with them, he began to understand what made Earth truly dangerous. It wasn't just the harsh wildlife or the tough terrain. It was the human spirit. The humans were survivors, and nothing in the galaxy could extinguish that fire. It was a quality that Bonner had never encountered in his own people. The Galactic Union, with all its technology and advanced weaponry, lacked that raw determination. They fought for power, for control, but the humans fought for their very existence. Bonner's perspective began to shift. He had always believed in the superiority of his people, in the inevitability of their conquest of Earth. But as he grew closer to the humans, he began to question everything. The Galactic Union had always told him that Earth was a threat to the galaxy, that its people were primitive and weak. But what if that wasn't true? What if the humans were not just a nuisance to be crushed, but a force to be reckoned with? The night was quiet, but tension hung in the air. Exarthal, the alien commander, was not one to give up easily. His forces had been temporarily thrown off by the humans' unexpected resistance, but he was regrouping, preparing for a final assault. Bonner knew that the coming battle would be their greatest test. Earth's fate rested on the shoulders of Commander Jonas and his team, and Bonner was torn. His loyalty to the Galactic Union had always been unquestioned, but his respect for the humans was growing stronger by the day. The humans had built a defensive stronghold, hidden deep within the jungle. It was not the largest fortress, nor the most technologically advanced, but it was effective. The walls were lined with traps, and every soldier knew their role. As Exarthal's forces prepared for their final assault, the humans knew they had only one chance to win. It would not be a battle of brute strength, but of strategy, a battle of wits and willpower. And the stakes were higher than ever. The final battle began as Exarthal's forces, with their advanced technology and AI-controlled war machines, launched their attack. The humans, with their limited resources, used guerrilla tactics, making use of every advantage they could find. Bonner, who had once thought the humans were no match for the might of the Galactic Union, now saw just how deadly they could be. They were like ghosts in the jungle, striking swiftly and then disappearing into the shadows. The battle was chaotic and fast-paced. The humans used alien technology to take down the AI war machines, hacking into their systems and turning them against their creators. Explosions rocked the landscape, and the sound of laser fire filled the air. Bonner fought alongside the humans, unsure of his place in this strange alliance but unable to turn back. The bond between him and Commander Jonas had grown stronger, and with each passing moment, Bonner felt himself more and more at home among these people. As the battle raged on, Bonner couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. His mind raced as he remembered the conversations he had had with Jonas, the stories the humans had shared about their history. Earth had been invaded countless times, its people subjugated, enslaved, and oppressed by alien forces. But each time, the humans had risen up, fought back, and survived. What if the true enemy was not the humans themselves, but the alien forces that sought to dominate them? Bonner's thoughts were interrupted by a loud explosion, followed by a rush of heat and light. The battle was reaching its climax. Tarthal's forces were growing desperate, but the humans were not backing down. As the war machines were destroyed one by one, Bonner knew that the tide of the battle had shifted. Earth was fighting for its future, and the humans were determined to protect it at all costs. In the midst of the chaos, Bonner found himself standing face to face with Tarthal. The alien commander's eyes burned with fury as he saw his forces faltering. Bonner's heart raced. He knew what this moment meant. If he sided with Tarthal, the humans would be doomed. But if he sided with the humans, he was turning his back on everything he had ever known. It was in this moment that Bonner's internal conflict reached its peak. The Galactic Union had always told him that the humans were inferior, that they were a threat that needed to be eradicated. But now, as he looked at Jonas and his team, he saw something different. The humans had never asked for this fight. They had simply fought to survive. And now, they were willing to do whatever it took to protect their world, their home. Bonner realized that the real enemy wasn't the humans. It was the oppression, the control, the desire to dominate. It was the very system that had sent him to Earth in the first place. He looked at Tarthal one last time, then turned away. "I'm with them," Bonner said, his voice steady. "I'm with Earth." As the final battle raged on, Bonner's decision marked the beginning of a new alliance, one that could change the fate of not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. The skies above Earth were filled with a menacing sight. Massive warships, sleek and powerful, led by Tarthal's fleet, now completely unleashed. The ships, equipped with cloaking technology, were invisible at first, but as they decloaked, the sheer size and power of the alien armada became clear. The invasion was upon them. Dozens of ships, each capable of unleashing deadly weapons, floated above Earth's surface, poised to bring about the destruction of the human race. Tarthal, confident in his victory, watched as his forces descended, ready to crush the last vestiges of humanity. On the ground, however, the humans were not backing down. In fact, they were preparing for the most crucial battle in their history. The humans, though technologically outmatched in many ways, had something the aliens could never account for: resilience, cunning, and a burning desire to protect their world at all costs. With Bonner now fighting alongside them, the humans were ready to show Tarthal just how dangerous Earth could truly be. The humans had already established a counteroffensive plan, one that utilized everything they had learned in their battles against the alien invaders. Using reverse-engineered alien technology, cloaking devices, and their own makeshift robots, they launched their assault on the invaders with surprising efficiency. What the aliens didn't realize was that the humans had been preparing for this moment ever since the invasion began. They had scavenged every bit of alien technology they could, turning it into their own weapons, tools, and machines. This time, the invaders were facing a new kind of enemy, one they had underestimated. The sky exploded into a series of dazzling lights as orbital bombardments rained down, marking the beginning of the final battle. The human stolen alien tech had been transformed into deadly weapons capable of hitting ships high above the Earth's atmosphere. The spectacle was breathtaking. Energy beams shot through the sky, slicing through the alien ships with precision. The aliens responded with fire, but the humans were ready. Their cloaking devices worked perfectly, allowing them to strike from the shadows, their attack ships darting between the colossal enemy vessels with lightning speed. The humans were no longer the underdogs. They were playing the game on their own terms now. Meanwhile, on the ground, the human resistance forces were infiltrating the alien ships. Using their own version of cloaking technology, they silently boarded the massive vessels, slipping through the cracks in the alien defenses. They were armed with futuristic weapons, some of them salvaged from alien wreckage, others newly designed to target the weaknesses in the enemy's technology. The resistance knew that this was their only chance. If they didn't take down the alien ships from the inside, the Earth would fall. The close-quarters combat that followed was intense. The humans fought with everything they had, using their knowledge of the alien ships' layouts to outsmart and overpower the android soldiers that patrolled the corridors. Each step forward was hard-won, each room cleared at great cost. The humans were relentless, their will to survive stronger than ever. The resistance fought not only for victory, but for their home, their families, and their way of life. Bonner, now fully integrated into the resistance, found himself on the front lines, fighting alongside Commander Jonas. The once proud soldier of the Galactic Union was no longer an invader. He was a warrior fighting for Earth's survival. His transformation was complete, and his new allies, his friends, were counting on him. As the battle raged on, Bonner found himself in the midst of the chaos, his heart pounding with each close call, each brush with death. He had never known such intense fear and adrenaline, but he also felt something else, something deeper, a connection with the humans he had once been taught to conquer. Amidst the fighting, Bonner experienced a loss that would change him forever. A close friend and fellow resistance fighter, Sarah, who had been by his side throughout the struggle, sacrificed herself to destroy an alien warship. It was a selfless act, one that took immense courage and strength. Sarah, knowing that this would likely be her final act, launched herself onto an alien warship, triggering an explosion that destroyed the vessel. As the ship broke apart in a fiery explosion, Bonner was left staring at the empty space where his friend had been moments before. The loss hit Bonner hard. He had seen death before, but this was different. This wasn't a faceless enemy falling. This was a friend, a human who had shown him what it meant to fight for something bigger than oneself. As the debris from the explosion rained down, Bonner felt a sense of sadness and loss that he had never experienced before. It was the first time he had truly understood the value of human life, the lengths humans would go to in order to protect their world. Commander Jonas, who had also known Sarah well, looked at Bonner, his expression grave. "We fight for our home," he said quietly, his voice filled with determination. "Every life, every sacrifice is worth it, and we don't forget." Bonner nodded, a sense of understanding growing within him. The humans fought not just for survival, but for the people they loved, for the planet they called home. In that moment, Bonner understood the true nature of the human spirit. It wasn't just about surviving. It was about fighting with everything you had, no matter the odds, no matter the cost. The battle continued, fierce and unrelenting, as Carthel's forces slowly began to crumble under the pressure of the human resistance. The alien fleet, once so confident in their victory, now found themselves facing a planet they could not conquer. The humans had proven to be more than just survivors. They had become warriors in their own right. And the aliens were beginning to realize that they had made a grave mistake in underestimating Earth. As the final hours of the battle approached, Caxarthal himself descended to the surface of Earth, determined to crush the resistance once and for all. He landed in a vast, open field, surrounded by his remaining forces, his rage palpable. But as he stood there, watching the destruction of his fleet, he realized that the humans were not going to give up. No matter how many ships he had, no matter how many soldiers he sent, Earth was not going to fall. The humans had shown their strength, their resilience, and their will to fight for their world. And it was in that moment that Bonner, standing beside Jonas, felt a surge of pride. He wasn't just fighting for the humans now. He was fighting for Earth. He was fighting for the future. The battle for Earth was far from over, but Bonner knew one thing for sure. The humans would not go down without a fight. They would continue to stand strong, no matter the cost. And with that determination, they would strike back against the alien empire, not as the underdogs, but as the true masters of their own fate. The final battle was about to begin. The skies above Earth were filled with the remnants of Exarthol's once mighty fleet, its ships now battered and scattered, thanks to the relentless assault from the humans below. The battle had raged on for days, but now it was time for the final stand. Exarthol's flagship, the colossal warship that had led the invasion, hovered high above the planet, a symbol of the alien empire's power. Its dark, imposing silhouette cast a shadow over the Earth, but within its halls, Exarthol was preparing for one final assault to crush the human resistance once and for all. The humans had a different plan, though. Commander Jonas and Bonner, the former alien soldier now fighting for Earth, had come up with a bold, dangerous mission to end the invasion once and for all. Their target was clear: Exarthol himself. The alien commander was the key to the Empire's power, and if they could take him down, the rest of the alien forces would crumble. But to do this, they would need to board the flagship and confront Exarthol directly. As the final strike was launched, Bonner and Jonas led a daring assault. Using every ounce of the technology and guerrilla tactics they had honed throughout the war, they infiltrated Exarthol's flagship. They snuck through the ship's defenses, their movements swift and silent. With each step, Bonner could feel the weight of what was at stake. The lives of his new human comrades, the future of Earth, all depended on this one moment. There was no turning back. The interior of the ship was a labyrinth of metallic corridors, cold and sterile. The walls hummed with energy, and the floors vibrated under the weight of the ship's enormous engines. Bonner and Jonas moved like shadows, bypassing guards and alien patrols, their weapons ready. Every corner held a new challenge, but nothing could stop them now. The battle was no longer about surviving. It was about ending this once and for all. Finally, they reached the heart of the ship, the command center. Exarthol stood before them, a towering figure, his alien form exuding a terrifying aura of power and dominance. His eyes burned with rage as he saw the humans who dared to challenge him. "So you've come to face me, the leader of the greatest empire in the galaxy." Exarthol sneered, his voice filled with disdain. "You, puny humans, are nothing. Your world is a dead world. It was never meant to survive." Bonner, standing beside Jonas, stepped forward, his heart pounding with the weight of his words. "No," he said, his voice steady but filled with resolve. "Earth is not a dead world. We are not the weak, helpless creatures you thought we were. We have fought for our survival, and we will continue to fight. You may have underestimated us, but that was your mistake." Exarthol's eyes narrowed, and he raised his hand, signaling his ship's weapons to charge. The final battle had begun. Energy beams and plasma bolts filled the air as the two sides clashed in a fierce firefight. Jonas and Bonner fought side by side, their movements coordinated and precise. The humans had adapted to this kind of warfare, and their resourcefulness was on full display. They used every tool at their disposal, from cloaking devices to the powerful alien weapons they had scavenged over the course of the war. The battle raged on for what felt like an eternity, the air crackling with energy and the sound of blaster fire. Exarthol, despite his immense strength and advanced technology, was not prepared for the sheer willpower and determination of the humans. Bonner could feel his resolve growing with each passing moment, and he knew that victory was within reach. The standoff reached its peak when Xarthal, enraged, activated the ship's self-destruct mechanism, hoping to take Earth and its would-be conquerors down with him. But the humans were quicker. Jonas, ever the strategist, had anticipated this move. Using the alien technology at their disposal, they disabled the self-destruct system just in time, saving the planet and ensuring that the final confrontation would not end in destruction. With a final, climactic strike, Bonner and Jonas took down Xarthal. The alien leader, who had once believed his empire would crush Earth without a second thought, fell to the ground, defeated. As Xarthal's massive form hit the floor, a wave of silence swept over the ship. The battle was over. The alien empire that had threatened to engulf Earth was collapsing, and the humans had emerged victorious. Bonner stood over Xarthal's fallen body, breathing heavily, his heart racing. He looked at Jonas, who was also catching his breath. The two men shared a moment of understanding, knowing that they had just changed the course of history. Earth was no longer just a backwater planet. It was a force to be reckoned with. The galaxy would never again underestimate humanity. In the final moments, Bonner raised his voice, speaking not just to the fallen alien commander, but to the galaxy as a whole. Earth is no longer a dead world, he declared, his voice echoing through the command center. We are a living world, and no empire, no matter how advanced, will ever defeat us again. The words resonated through the ship, a declaration of humanity's strength, resilience, and indomitable spirit. The galaxy had learned an important lesson that day. Never underestimate the will of a people determined to protect their home. The once dismissed humans had proven themselves to be more than capable of standing up to the greatest powers in the universe. As the remaining alien forces retreated, the humans began to rebuild. The survivors on Earth looked up at the sky, now clear of the alien invaders, and they knew that their victory had changed everything. The world had been saved, and a new chapter in humanity's history had begun. The survivors of Earth were now respected across the galaxy, not just for their survival, but for their strength and their will to fight. The final shot showed the humans standing together, united in their victory. The camera pulled back, revealing Earth in all its beauty, a planet that had withstood the test of time, that had fought back against an impossible enemy, and had emerged stronger for it. The humans were no longer the underdogs. They were the galaxy's new champions. The message was clear: never underestimate humanity. The galaxy would now look to Earth, not with disdain, but with respect, for humanity had proven that even in the face of overwhelming odds, they would rise, fight, and conquer. And with that, the battle for Earth was over, but the fight for the future had just begun.